This is the land of the Wanderers, Kazakhstan, a massive country that is home to 18 million people. Straddling Asia and Europe, it's the world's largest landlocked nation, yet Kazakhstan still has a navy. It's also the birthplace of Avangar, one of the top teams in global offensive and the first CIS organisation ever to qualify for an ECS final since the tournament's inception.
Avangar will have themselves a grand final appearance here at the Berlin Major. Can you believe it?
Avangar began life as a 5-man Kazakhstani team after the organisation signed the former LOG roster back in early 2017. Only months after the team's unveiling, ownership would look beyond the Kazakh borders and into the wider CIS region for roster improvements, with their first change seeing Russian shame added to the organisation.
And Yanko, you've drawn the short straw on this one, because I don't think it's too disrespectful to say we did have to get on Liquipedia to start talking about Avangar. We had to dig deep.
Avangar would come first in the minor qualifier, narrowly beating out another up-and-coming CIS team Quantum Bellator Fire in the grand finals, taking home $30,000, the largest sum of prize money the team had seen as of yet.
Дорогие друзья, Авангар чемпионы.
More importantly, Avangar and their opponents would both receive spots in the new challenger stage of the major. Filmed at the Turner Sports Studio in Atlanta, the new challenger stage of the Boston Major would be the highest level of Counter-Strike that Avangar had ever faced.
That is disgusting!
16 teams will flex their muscle, but only 8 will walk out alive.
Although they would take wins from Misfits and Flipside, Avangar would fall to Mousesports and Space Soldiers, leaving them with only a single lifeline, a rematch of the CIS minor finals against arch-rivals QBFire. But it was their rivals' turn to claim revenge.
Buster's the last alive, and QBF are going to secure their place.
QBFire took train, becoming the first ever team to make the major playoffs from the open qualifiers.
This means absolutely everything. No one expected anything, and they've managed to do it. They're going to the final round of 16. What a story that is.
Avangar wouldn't get to be the Cinderella story of the Boston Major, but it was a good start for an organisation that was still in its early days. Revamps to the format of ECS in 2019 would mean greater opportunities for teams such as Avangar to compete at the highest level in CS. Gone was the promotion and relegation system used in seasons 1 through 6. Instead, teams would have the opportunity to compete in 5 single elimination tournaments, with the winners of the first 3 weeks automatically qualifying for the Season 7 finals in London. The final 2 remaining spots, one from Europe and one from North America, would be awarded to the top prize money earners from the final 2 tournaments. Avangar also saw a revamp with Krizen stepping down due to health concerns, and Uzbekistan's Sanji joining the roster, casting the team's CIS net even further. From the very start of Season 7, Avangar were consistent, just consistent in a way that saw them bow out of the first 3 weeks in the semi-finals. First to Astralis, then to North, and finally to Optic. It was safe to say that Danish teams really were Avangar's kryptonite. Their 4th attempt would see them finally make a dent and claim a spot in the Week 4 finals against NIP. But it wouldn't be a cause for celebration, with the Swedes wiping them out 2 maps to 1.
But it won't quite be 16-10 for Ninjas and Pyjamas. They make it to LAN, off to London they go. Nando's point has been achieved.
Coming into the 5th and final week of ECS Season 7, providing Avangar didn't play, NIP were guaranteed a spot at the Season 7 finals in London. And because of Avangar's seeding from the Pinnacle Cup, they almost didn't. Force was set to step up and take on NIP. But in a last-second decision, they decided to pull from the league, as they had no chance of making it to London. The stars were aligning for Avangar. They were within touching distance of London. With $4,500 separating Avangar behind NIP, the CIS squad would have to go all the way in Week 5 and take the top spot. It was a long shot, but Avangar started off strong with a win over Mousesports. Turning to focus on the other side of the Week 5 bracket, NIP would receive a wake-up call.
Optic will 2-0 Ninjas in Pyjamas and send them packing, crashing out of this week's bracket and leaving their destiny in the hands of Avangar.
With the Ninjas silenced, Avangar's fate would be in their own hands, with Fnatic as the only hurdle between them and the money they needed to claim the final spots in London. But it wasn't to be. Avangar would face a war of attrition in Fnatic as the Swedes avenged their fellow countrymen. Avangar's dreams were ended in an incredibly close 2-1 scoreline.
And they're going to finish him off. What the hell did we just witness? 60-14, I cannot believe it finished like that.
Their season over, it was time for Avangar to continue their rebuilds for the upcoming major, with their slot already confirmed in the new challenger stage of Berlin.
Take it back because he thinks otherwise. They'll go aggressive. No one peeking, so he'll take every inch he can get to make this an instant.
Back in July 2017, during PGL's Krakow Major in Poland, another CIS team not only made waves, but won the whole fucking thing.
Gambit have done it!
The clear underdogs going into the final 8 of Counter-Strike's most prestigious event featured 3 Kazakh players in Mu, Hobbit, and Adren. Gambit were triumphant, with Adren heralded the MVP of the entire event.
I think there's no doubt that for the whole tournament, Adren is the MVP.
2 years later, and after spending 14 months with FaZe Clan, a portion of which on the bench, Adren would return to his roots and sign with Avangar. Yet again, the team would prove consistent, but not at the skill level they would need in order to contend, mostly finishing top 6 at events featuring tier 2 teams. But something was about to click big time. The new Challenger stage of the Berlin Major would see Avangar slip through with wins over Complexity, Hellraisers, and Simon, but losses to Mousesports and NRG.
It's so close. Beautiful frag from him. That bomb pretty fast in now. Lias's got to stay alive. Manufactured a man of 9 HP. How's he the last one standing? Somebody's got to get on this bomb. Is there time to defuse it?
They do one better at the new Legend stage, going 3-1, only falling to the previous major runner-ups ENTS in their first game. With their pure firepower on display, it would be the Russia making everyone's heads turn.
The pillar. Oh my God! Connects it. Can you believe it? James, that is some nerves of steel.
And with that, Avangar would secure their spot at the champion stage of Berlin 2019. After having their dreams dashed in Boston, a poor showing at the London Miners, and stumbling once again in Katowice, the Mercedes-Benz Arena in the German capital would finally welcome Avangar in front of a live crowd for the first time. The team's run would start against Vitality, the flyboys of a recently rejuvenated French Counter-Strike scene, with young star Zywu taking center stage.
Zywu's caught off in long, but I don't think he's the one that's caught off. They're locked in here with him, and that's huge from Zywu. Do not come to long.
Facing off for the first time on LAN, Avangar would start off solid with a win on
Haven't seen the
Mirage.
information yet. Kicker's gonna find that kill. He does stick him up, but now they know he's out in the open. He's somehow gotten away, and Buster adds on, and Kicker, he's going mental.
However, the French prodigy Zywu answered back in true form with 28 kills on Inferno.
That's a beautiful double.
But it wouldn't be enough for Vitality, as James and Avangar would own Dust 2, securing their place in the Berlin Major semi-finals.
Massive early lead. Buster is gonna get 3!
Oh, rush B. It's a classic. Kicker fighting him. Oh my God! Close the flashbang is there. That was a great setup for Avangar. That should have probably worked, but instead, Zywu takes 1. Kicker is there to get the double kill. He tries to escape. Buster will take down Alex, and it's all on Zywu. How could he possibly do this? The bomb is down. He tries to go for the shot, and he's going to take down Buster through the wall. He needs to ace it, but it's not going to happen. It's Avangar in the semi-finals here at the start of the Berlin Major. They drop Vitality on 3 maps with an absolutely amazing performance.
Avangar's semi-final opponents would have an underdog story of their own, facing off against Australia's Renegades. Fans witnessed some incredibly close play, with map 1 going to overtime. But ultimately, it was Avangar who pulled through, deciding which of the Davids would face the Goliath. Of course, Astralis would continue the trend of dominating in a major final, collecting their 4th major title in just 3 years.
And ladies and gentlemen, they've done it for the 4th time! Astralis win the major in Berlin!
Was Avangar's major run just a fluke? It wouldn't be long before the team would get a chance to prove the doubters wrong with a last-minute invite to Blast Pro Series Moscow. Ironically, Avangar would be facing many of the teams that had been in a similar situation to themselves, a field of major runner-ups including Na'Vi and ENTS. Unhappy with their 2nd place finish in Berlin, Avangar's fortunes would improve, with a victory over their CIS counterparts 4s in the final.
Jerry takes one in the chest, and there it is!
In only 2 short years, Avangar have grown from having the youngest roster in professional Counter-Strike to one of the most experienced teams, proudly representing the region. As the first CIS organization to qualify for an ECS final, and the first time Avangar has traveled to a North American event, expectations in Arlington will be high for the pride of Kazakhstan. As the first CIS organization to qualify for an ECS final, and the first time Avangar has traveled to a North American event, expectations in Arlington will be high for the pride of Kazakhstan.